Orthorexic patterns, they feel constricting. They feel like you are following a set of rules that you cannot break without a really negative consequence. Hello, and welcome back to another new episode of Emotional Eating Unwrapped. Today, we're going to talk about 4 ways even healthy, quote unquote, diets can disconnect you from your body. And by the end of the episode, you're going to understand 4 specific ways that even the most well-intentioned, health-focused eating patterns, just patterns that you might think are just so well-disciplined, can sever your connection to your body, sometimes even more than numbing out on a pint of ice cream or an entire box of cereal. And we're going to talk about what it actually looks like to eat in a way that makes you feel like eating is not something that you have to manage, and eating can be something that is actually enjoyable, fun, and can help you reach your goals without making you suffer in the meantime. All right. So before we get into it, my name is Alana Kessler. I am a registered functional dietitian and someone who's worked with enough high achieving, health conscious women to know that it's the most painful food struggles, honestly, are sometimes hiding behind, the healthiest looking eating habits, the healthiest looking plates. So let's get into it. The first thing I want you to understand is that body disconnection is not caused by superficial choices like eating too much pizza or skipping the gym or having a glass of wine on a random Tuesday. Body disconnection is a nervous system problem, and it can live just as comfortably inside a clean eating protocol that it does inside an emotional overeating cycle, a binge eating cycle. It literally can live in both. And in fact, for many of the women that I've worked with, the healthy diet was actually a hiding place, right? The healthy looking lifestyle was actually a hiding place where more control and hypervigilance lived, where anxiety, right? Really, anxiety was going on inside, but you could masquerade it as discipline. And the reason this matters, and the reason I want to spend an entire episode talking about this, is that it's so important to understand that you cannot heal your relationship with food. You cannot lose weight and enjoy all food without feeling like you're consistently on a diet, while still using food as a mechanism for managing your sense of security, even if that food is vegetables, protein, right? Grilled chicken. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what the food is if the energy behind it is still nervous system dysregulation. Okay, so let's talk about 4 ways this shows up. The first way healthy diets can disconnect you from your body is that the rules that you're following, right, in the healthy diets, quote unquote, there's always rules in healthy diets because you have to eat specific things at specific times, typically, and they end up replacing your body's signals entirely. What happens when you're following a structured eating plan, even a genuinely nutritious one, right? Think about what happens. You end up over time relying and outsourcing your sense of trust to this external structure, right? You eat at certain times, like I said, you stop eating when you've hit your allotted points, amount, fill in the blank. You choose food from an approved list. You avoid foods from a restricted list. And, the authority now is this external structure. So your hunger cues, they actually, instead of just being information, they start to become inconvenient, right? If, it's just like, this is what happens. Okay, like you get nervous, you get fearful of hunger cues, you get scared of desire. And beneath the surface, what's happening is that every time that you have overridden a hunger cue or a desire for something because maybe it's too many calories or it's not approved for the day, you send your nervous system a message that your natural innate signals don't matter. right? An external authority matters. And the more consistently that message is sent, the more your body learns to stop sending them, right? The more your body learns to like disconnect from you, go offline from you. And this is, I think, the misunderstanding is we think that healthy eating, or many of us are told that healthy eating is to get the food right, the substance right. But if getting the substance that you're eating right, AKA the food, means systematically ignoring what your body is telling you, you're not building a healthy relationship with food. You're building a more sophisticated version of the same disconnection. Okay, especially if you're trying to heal emotional overeating because you're like, I feel so disconnected from myself, right? It's just a different version. The second way is that clean eating, right? Healthy eating, clean eating becomes a subconscious, eventually conscious form of control. This is a little bit uncomfortable because it's also easy to miss, because healthy eating and eating clean and all of these types of ways to describe a diet actually can become a socially acceptable form of control. Control and restriction, they don't always look like deprivation. They don't always look like your cliche person like pushing food in different areas of their plate, not eating anything. Sometimes it can look like, over preparation, right? Like being the person who always knows exactly what they're going to eat. Someone who's never caught off guard by a meal, right? Like the only way that you feel calm and secure about what you're going to eat and about how your body is going to feel is if you're eating this specific clean food in this specific way at this specific time. And if you're not, you get anxious and destabilized, emotionally destabilized. I have worked with so many women. I am one of those women. When I was my own client, I always talk about this. I was my first client who appear from the outside to have a really healthy relationship with food. And especially in their social circle, their friends will be like, oh my God, Kimberly eats so healthy. Oh my God, she's such good eating habits, right? Oh, she cooks amazing meals. She knows so much about nutrition, right? She's never like binging. She's never getting out of control with eating. But underneath that, what's really happening is there is this baseline of like holding on so tightly of control that never actually feels like it releases. And the moment something disrupts that control, whether it's a spontaneous dinner out, a trip, an unexpected stressful week, or even something good, like someone surprises you with a celebration, what happens is like the meal prep didn't happen. The exact meal that you thought was going to happen didn't happen. And the anxiety that surfaces, right? What happens is the anxiety that you feel is completely disproportionate to the actual situation. And the reason this happens is because the food was never really about the food. It was about feeling safe, feeling in control, right? This clean eating thing, it was never about eating clean food. It was actually about the ritual of this control, this sense of safety, right? It was having one thing that you could manage in your life that felt unmanageable in other ways, right? It gave you this false kind of delusional sense of, if I follow this, I will get this certain outcome. It gave you a certain sense of certainty. And this is where a lot of people end up defending themselves because culturally it's acceptable, where you could say like, but I genuinely care about my health. That's why I'm doing this. And of course, like, I understand that. I believe you. Caring about your health is valid. It's important. But there's a difference between, nourishing yourself from a place of self-respect and controlling your body from a place of fear. The thing is the food on the plate can look identical. Only you know the difference. This is why this is like an honesty game with yourself, with no one else, with yourself. Only you know if the clean eating is because this is genuinely something that's self-respect, you want this is what you're desiring, or if you're doing it because you feel like if you didn't, things would go haywire. And so eating clean can keep you disconnected if it means that your relationship with food is always conditional, right? Like you feel good about your body when you eat this way, and you feel bad about your body when you don't. And that conditionality, that constant evaluation, that is the opposite of the embodied, connected relationship, trusting relationship that actual food freedom requires, authentic food freedom. You've built a good life. From the outside, it looks like you have it all together. You eat clean, you work hard, you take care of everyone. But there's this one area that still feels impossible to master, and that is food. You can eat perfectly all day and still end up in the kitchen at night wondering why you keep doing this. You promise yourself you'll start fresh tomorrow, and I know you mean it every single time. But the cycle, it always finds its way back, especially when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, or when you're just tired of being the one that's holding it all together. And I get it because I lived that way for years. And what I learned is this: the problem, it was never about food. It was the pressure underneath it, the perfectionism, the self-doubt, the part of me that never felt safe and secure to just be me. And that's why I created the sober eating sequence. It's a proven 3-phase method that rewires the emotional patterns and the belief systems driving overeating so you can relax, trust yourself around food, and release weight completely naturally, without force and without obsession. Because when your body feels secure, it lets go. The cravings quiet, the self-punishment, it softens, and food, it stops being the thing that you have to fix. This is not another plan. This isn't another rule book. It's a revolutionary transformation for your nervous system, for your body, and for your identity. So join the sober eating movement today. The third way that healthy diets can disconnect you from your body is one that I think wellness culture doesn't talk about as much, but I think it's really important. And it's when it starts to cross over into orthorexia. Now, this is a relatively new term, but orthorexia is not about eating too little or too much. It's about an obsessive focus on eating correctly, and the anxiety, the shame, and self-judgment that follows when you don't. Okay. And a lot of times orthorexia is this insidious thing that lives inside like food sensitivity protocols, elimination diets, anti-inflammatory eating plans, clean lifestyles. It can look completely indistinguishable from just being health conscious from the outside. But here's how you know the difference. Being health conscious, right? Like being conscious about your health and in a good way, right? Feels expansive. It feels like you're caring for yourself, you're adding nourishment, you're making choices from, genuine intention. There's room for flexibility. If you eat something that's, a little bit off because you wanted it or it was aligned with the moment, right? You're okay with it. But orthorexic patterns, they feel constricting. They feel like you are following a set of rules that you cannot break without a really negative consequence. And not a physical consequence per se. It's not like it's going to be physical, but an emotional consequence, right? You're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel fear. You're going to feel danger. You're going to feel like you failed, right? Like you're going to feel like you disappointed somebody or you didn't do it correctly. And when eating well feels like you're safe and eating badly feels like a moral failure, that's not a health practice, right? That's not a healthy situation. You don't want to get a sense of safety from eating a particular protocol and then feel like absolute crap and feel like a huge failure when you don't. What that is, wellness in a masquerade, right? Like it's like it's a nervous system. It's a toxic nervous system pattern masquerading as wellness. And the disconnection it creates within yourself is profound, because when you are that focused on the correctedness of your eating, you have completely left your body, right? You're not eating from a place of embodiment and connection. You're living in your head the whole time, evaluating, self-monitoring, calculating, and your body becomes just like an object. You're objectifying yourself. And when you objectify yourself, you can't be connected to yourself at the same time. And the last way that I want to talk about, and in many ways it's the deepest one, is that healthy eating can become a highly effective strategy for avoiding emotional experience altogether. Food in any form can be used to regulate emotion, right? We know this about binging. We know this about emotional overeating, but we don't actually talk about it enough in the sense of how a rigidly, quote unquote, healthy eating pattern can serve the exact same function. It's just in a different wrapping, right? When you're so meticulously focused on what you're eating, right? Constantly like planning, preparing, optimizing, monitoring, calculating, you're occupied. Your mind has somewhere to go. And you don't have to focus on the other kind of messier, less clear sensations and feelings that are going on underneath. You don't have to feel the anxiety about the relationship. You don't have to feel the grief, the disappointment that you haven't processed yet. You don't have to feel the resentment or the anger that's bubbling up inside of you. You don't have to feel the isolation or the loneliness that comes up at night. A healthy diet protocol gives the anxious, high achieving, intellectual, emotionally intelligent woman, and I say it with so much recognition and love because this is me, this was me. It gives her a place to channel all of that unprocessed emotional energy that looks productive, right? It gives us a place to process it, and it looks productive at the same time. And it looks like self-care at the same time. And it earns external validation because everyone's like, wow, you're so amazing. You're so disciplined. You take care of yourself, right? But nobody looks or sees the woman that's, underneath there that really just wants someone to notice, or maybe not, but like somewhere deep down, she does want someone to notice how she's feeling. Is she really okay? Is there something else going on underneath this organization, this control, this, perfect image? But the thing is, the body knows. The body always knows. And the disconnection, it will accumulate quickly, right? Invisibly, until the day that something disrupts that and the feelings that were being managed by this organized, seemingly healthy lifestyle behavior suddenly has nowhere to go, right? The feelings now have nowhere to go. And this is what changed for me. When I stopped using food in these yo-yo ways, right? First, it was a restriction for me. First, it was this healthy, clean eating lifestyle for me, just what I'm describing today, right? I was a teenager then. And then it became the binging and the purging, right? But when I stopped using my experience with food and eating as my primary emotional management tool, I had to learn to actually feel things. And that was the beginning of my real healing, right? It had nothing to do with eating differently, right? That was the, connection to myself wasn't about food really. It's that I just started being different in relation to my eating rituals, to my eating mentality, right? I was more present. I was more flexible. I was less strict. I was less fearful of doing something wrong, of not being correct all the time. And I learned to be able to sit with what was actually there with me, the emotions, the feelings. And I learned to trust myself through that. So what do we actually do with this, right? Like I said, honesty, honesty, honesty. You start by getting really honest with yourself about what your healthy eating is doing for you emotionally, what your clean diet is doing for you emotionally, right? Not nutritionally, because obviously if it's clean and all that stuff on the outside, someone could look at that and be like, great plate, right? Super nutritious, great macros, great composition. But what is this doing for you emotionally, right? Is it a sophisticated system of control? Is this bringing you closer to yourself? Or is it keeping you safely in your head, right? Is it keeping you in that same pattern of disconnect from yourself and outsourcing your sense of self-connection to some external thing, right? Because the goal of a healthy relationship with food is not about a perfect clean diet. Obviously, we want to nourish ourselves, and this isn't about eating like junk food 24/7. Obviously, we want to make aligned good decisions most of the time. But a healthy relationship with food is being able to sit down to a meal and actually be there, be able to adapt. If something comes out that you didn't expect and you want, you try it, right? You're connected to your hunger, your satisfaction, your experience of it, right? Without the noise. Ironically, it's a different kind of food noise, right? Without the food noise of rules and evaluating and self-monitoring running around in the back. Okay? Because even healthy rules, they're still rules. And however well-intentioned, they create the same nervous system pattern as any form of diet culture, whether it's a diet or whether it's emotional overeating, because they place the authority outside of you, and freedom only comes when you can create and build the authority to come from within yourself. And that's the only way that you're going to feel the trust that you want. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. Share this episode with somebody if you feel like maybe they're struggling with this in their life. Like, they want to eat healthy and there's like an underlying fear of, letting go a little. Send this to them. They might really enjoy it. All right. And until next time, I'm Alana, and thank you for listening to Emotional Eating Unwrapped.